Welcome to the Key to Consistency podcast. My name is Rakia Collins and I will be your host. On this podcast, we talk about habits and mindsets that really lead to gaining consistency in every single area of your life. So in today's episode, we're going to focus on what consistency is exactly and why does consistency matter? So in order to just dive right into today's content, I do want to first start off with the definition of consistency. I think that a lot of us hear the word consistency, but we may not necessarily know what it means or how it's applicable to our lives. So the definition, just a quick Google search about consistency. The first one says, being consistent is acting or doing something in the same way over time, especially so as to be fair or accurate. The second definition says unchanging in nature, standard, or effect over time. And so by those two definitions, I want to let you know that you are already a consistent person. There are already activities that you are doing in your life that you're being consistent with. If I were to break this down into its simplest form, which in my opinion is where you should always start when you're thinking about consistency, things like brushing your teeth, things like taking a shower. If you are a parent, things like taking care of your children. If you're a caretaker in any regard, things like showing up and showing out for that person that you're being a caretaker for. You are a consistent person. If you have a full-time job and you go to work every day, that is consistency. So before we dive into anything else in today's episode, I want to let you know that you are already a consistent person. Now, why that may be shocking to you is because you may not be consistent in areas of your life that actually move the needle for you. Right? Whether it's financial consistency or it's health consistency, right? It can be consistency in your communication with your spouse or a loved one, right? Like you want to be consistent in those areas that actually move the needle for you. And that's where most of us tend to struggle. But with this podcast, the goal is that we continue to build consistency together. That's the whole reason why this podcast was created, because while people always talk about consistency, on these episodes, we're going to be giving you tangible, practical steps on how you can build consistency in your life. So now that we understand what consistency is, the definition of consistency, I want to give you also a couple of facts around why consistency matters, right? So we have studies that actually show that it takes an average of 66 days for new behavior to become automatic. That is huge. And what does that mean for us as it relates to consistency? Well, 66 days, as I'm just saying it, you can think, okay, great, I can count to 66, right? But we all know that living life day in and day out, being consistent and doing something for 66 days is harder than it sounds. However, with the examples I gave you guys before, we know that it's not that hard. If you brush your teeth, if you take a shower, these small things that you do consistently show that you have the ability to be consistent. We just need to shift that energy and focus it into an area that's going to actually provide tangible results in your life and the results that you may actually want to see. So we'll keep that little fun fact in the back of our mind as we move on to our second fun fact about consistency. Consistency is really crucial to achieving long-term success. When we think about learning a new skill, we think about improving your health or pursuing any type of goal that's worthwhile, it is going to require that we let go of the short-term instant gratification that we see all over the world, all over social media, and really hone in and focus on small steps that will allow us over time to make sure that we get to the goal that we are trying to achieve. So the third thing I want to mention about consistency is that consistency within and of itself breeds trust and reliability. And I want to really pause on this one because it is important to know there is no other person on this planet that you need to build trust and reliability with more than yourself. And I can give you guys a very practical example of this with me. In 2022, it was August, I believe, of 2022, I started going to the gym with my friend because she found this workout plan. And, it's always better to have an accountability buddy. And we'll talk about that a little later in our episode. But I had her as my accountability buddy, and we went 5 days out of the week, Monday through Friday. We went to the gym every single morning. The gym that we go to opens up at 5 a.m. We were there at 5 a.m. before both of us went to work, and we were getting it in. And to this day, now I go to the gym 6 days a week. I do Sunday through Friday because it's become a habit of going to the gym. Now, I say that, and I don't want to terrify anyone. I immediately jumped into going 5 days out of the week because I know my personality. I know that when I set my mind to doing something, I'm going to get it done. But I was not always that way, right? And we'll get into that backstory a little later. But I say that to say, you may not need to start off with 5 days. You may need to go 1 day or 2 days or 3 days out of the week, right? Whatever you need to do to take a small step in the right direction, that is what we're looking for, right? We're looking to build trust and reliability with ourselves, because what that signals is when you have a certain level of trust and reliability with yourself, that is where confidence comes from. You looking internally at yourself and knowing that you are a reliable human because you did the thing that you said you were going to do. Even if it's going to the gym and you say, hey, I'm going to squat. I'm going to do 2 sets, 10 reps each set. That's what I'm going to do, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but the moment that you get done with those sets, you're going to feel a level of consistency and a level of trust within yourself that, hey, I came in here and did exactly what I said I was going to do. And what does that look like externally? When you begin to build consistency within yourself, it shows up as outward confidence. And that carries over into your personal relationships, your professional relationships, and you begin to now build this trust and respect from other people because now you show up as someone who has a level of confidence that you might not have had before. And what does that ultimately trickle down to? New opportunities and strengthening your connections with those around you. So that fact that consistency builds trust and reliability is probably the most important out of the 3. Yes, it takes 66 days to build a new behavior. And yes, consistency is crucial to achieving long-term success. But again, most importantly, consistency breeds trust and reliability. So those 3 facts alone will hopefully help you guys see why consistency is important, right? And so I don't want to just, give you guys facts and understanding why it's important. I do want to make sure that during our time together, you guys have come up with, or I give you guys rather, practical steps of how you can actually achieve consistency every single day in your own life, right? So what does it look like? Number 1, let's start small and let's be realistic. I know because I have not always been the most consistent person. And again, we'll get into that in a future podcast episode. But let me tell you, I have not always been very consistent. And it started off because I did not do this first strategy. I did not start small and I was not realistic. I set these overly ambitious goals. I wanted to do, 10,000 different things at one time. It would take up, 2 or 3 hours for each different thing I wanted to do. Like I was literally all over the place and was not consistent at all. Start small and be realistic with yourself. When I used to do that, when I used to, be all over the place and be a super inconsistent person, it was because my ambitious goals, while they were ambitious and they were amazing goals to have on the wall, it was discouraging to me because I didn't maintain the actual effort it took to go after them. I didn't have manageable tasks and manageable steps that would say, hey, if your goal is to walk 10,000 steps a day, for example, start by walking 1,000 steps. No, I would go out and I had to walk 10,000 steps the very first day. And what did that do when I didn't do the same thing on day 2 or day 3 because that initial excitement had worn off? Right? And then life got in the way, and then work got in the way, and then I began to have these different excuses, and ultimately it just ended up wearing down on my self-esteem for myself of like, why can't you do what you said you're going to do? Because I did not start small and I was not realistic. So that's the first strategy that I want to leave with you guys. The second one is going to be to create a routine, right? The reason why I can confidently tell you I go to the gym 6 days a week is not because I'm special. I go to the gym at the same time. I get up 4:30 every single day. Even on Saturdays and Sundays when the gym doesn't open until 7, I still have to get up at 4:30. Why? Because it is that daily routine that will help me get to my desired outcome. Now that I know I'm not going to the gym at 5 on Saturday and Sunday, I have time to do other things. I can write. I can read the Bible. I can do other things that are important to me during that time. But that consistency of getting up at the same time every single day, like, yes, it's the weekend. And yes, I do have a regular 9 to 5 that I work. So I would love to be able to sleep in, right? But I also understand the importance of consistency. And again, knowing that I used to be very all over the place and very inconsistent, I recognize that consistency thrives in structured environments. And so we'll talk about this a little later, but I really had to break the habit of forming, different habits on the weekends than I would have during the week, because I looked at the weekends as like, I can take a break, right? But that wasn't great for my consistency. So hopefully that gives you guys a good stepping stone for the second strategy. Again, just really creating a routine around whatever it is that you're trying to do every single day. And then the last one that I hinted at earlier with my gym story was staying accountable. Like me having my friend go with me to the gym 5 days out of the week was critical because, again, we're both doing something that we weren't doing before. And it was a lot easier to know, okay, I'm showing up and I have this person that I'm going to meet at the gym. I'm not going by myself. It just hits different when you have someone that can help keep you accountable, when you guys can track your progress together. It just gives you an extra level of motivation and really kind of helps you stick to your commitments when you have someone that's there with you. So again, if I could sum up those 3 strategies and those action steps that you can really take now, you can go ahead and create your routine. In your routine, make sure that you're having these small and realistic tasks that are going to help you get to your goal. And then again, just make sure that you are staying accountable and that you have an accountability partner. You can even join a support group, or you can use apps and different tools that will kind of help you track your progress towards your goals. The most important thing that I want to leave you guys with is that consistency is not about being perfect. It is truly about showing up consistently. Even when you fall, even when you stumble, even when you don't do everything that you wish you could have done, it is knowing that I'm going to get back up the very next day because I've made a commitment to myself, and I'm going to honor that commitment day in and day out. I'm going to consistently show up. I'm going to consistently be there. And as we end our episode today, I do want to make sure that you guys have a tangible, actual step that you can look at from a biblical perspective to also show you guys what does it mean to be consistent, right? We can look at Joseph in the book of Genesis, when he went from the pit to the palace to the prison and finally to the palace, right? He was very consistent in his walk with God throughout that entire process, throughout all those seasons in his life. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at his story in Genesis. It is really helpful when you think about consistency and how you can be and show up for yourself on a more consistent basis. As we wrap up today's podcast episode, remember that consistency breeds mastery and transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Please feel free to visit our website, www.thekeytoconsistency.com, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Key to Consistency. And I'll see you guys next time.